I've already gone ahead and mixed up my best recipe for vegan chocolate cake, and it's a real simple recipe. I've already showed you guys how to do that from start to finish. It is a 1 bowl mix, but I've done it today in a mixer, an electric mixer, because I had to double the recipe so that I could get 2 12 by 18 sheet cakes to make this decadent double chocolate fudge layer cake. So now that my cake is baked and fully cooled, I actually popped it into the freezer for about a half an hour to make sure that it's a little bit easier to handle. Cold cake is always easier to work with than warm cake, so even ideally this would be a good idea to even leave this in the refrigerator or freezer overnight. But we're gonna go ahead and ice this straight away, and I just wanna measure and make sure that I have 4 equal perfect strips, because we're gonna stack these strips right on top of each other, and that's how easy it is to make a 4-layer cake like this one out of 1 pan of cake. So I'm going to flip this over now just to make sure that I don't have any breakage whatsoever. This way it's easier to get the paper off, it's easier to handle these layers now that I've sliced them. And there we have our perfect 4 layers of cake. So I've made up a small batch of simple syrup, which is essentially equal parts sugar and water that's boiled to a syrupy consistency. And I'm going to add some coffee liqueur to it. Make sure you use Tia Maria, not Kahlua, because Kahlua is not vegan. But I did want to add just a little extra something to it. So I'm not going to really soak these layers too much, but I do want to give it just a little extra zing. Typically simple syrup is reserved for more dry style cakes, like a Genoise style cake that is, you know, going to be a little bit more of a dry cake. So you would use a simple syrup. By icing it this way, it really just does ensure that you have an equal amount of icing on each layer before I go ahead and stack it. It doesn't need a lot of icing because fudge icing is going to be one of your sweeter icings. So I'm using it very sparingly. So this is actually the hardest part, and this is the hardest part really when you're building any cake, when your cake is super soft, which again is why I would recommend to have it in the freezer. So that really did the trick, just like about a couple hours in the freezer just to sort of firm it all up so that it's not slipping and sliding around when I do my final icing. So with the remaining fudge icing, let's make it look a little bit cleaner than this. The one thing that I will say about square or rectangle cakes like this one is that it is a little bit more difficult to ice smoothly than a round cake because you do have all of these sharp corners. So it does just take a little bit of extra practice. If you're really not that skilled of a cake decorator, it's really okay. That's why I love a cake like this, because we can go ahead and cover up any and all imperfections that you might have with, I'm using cocoa nibs, which to me is a really kind kind of healthier way to decorate the sides of cakes. It's a crunchy, chocolatey tasting garnish that has no sugar in it. But of course you could use anything that you like. So now for the fun part, we're gonna get to decorating this cake. Now, I've gone ahead and piped some chocolate onto a piece of parchment paper just in lines. It's the same idea when you make sprinkles out of royal icing. If you just pipe it into straight lines like this and then sort of roll up your paper, it's going to break up all of those lines into little smaller pieces that you could use as sprinkles for your cake. So I'm going to use this as some garnish for my 7-layer double chocolate cake. And then I did the same thing here with just a pastry bag with some more chocolate to make some other types of decorations that I can put on this cake. So I have a little bit of extra fudge right here that I'm just going to pipe on. And this cake is going to sort of have like individual portions already marked out, which is really way easier if you're serving this, let's say in a restaurant or to a large group of people. Like, you kind of know where to cut it because you just follow the decor. Of course, you can decorate this cake with anything that you like. It doesn't have to be everything that I'm using here, but I do have some vegan chocolate little sandwich cookies. Of course, my cool chocolate decorations. So there you have it, a super decadent double fudge chocolate layer cake. And this cake looks like it came out of a bakery, and you could pull it off with 2 very simple recipes. Let me tell you, this is one cake that is going to have you the star of the show every time you serve it. So I really do hope that you're going to want to try this recipe. Head on over to GretchensVeganBakery.com to grab all of the recipes. And until next time, happy vegan baking. Bye for now.